Come on.
Well, good evening, curling fans, and welcome to Draw 4 today. Feels like Draw 10, but we're in for a good one tonight. We've got Kleibrink Broderson versus Johnson Fenrich, and we're lucky to be joined with two-time Scotties champion Chelsea Carey. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I did it by myself earlier, and nobody really wants to listen to me anymore, so you're going to do all the talk in this draw.
Luckily, I like to talk.
Okay, perfect. We got our regular production crew here. We got the Gruno family over here, and then Deadeye Deb McLaren next to me here doing the sound. Any mistakes, it's not our fault, it's theirs. So we're just waiting. They're doing their last practice shots here. And then we're going to see their draw the button. The draw the button will decide who gets hammer. We weren't really paying attention where Broderson Kleibrink ended up, but 3.5 inches, I heard from Kyler himself as he's walking behind us. Okay, Kyler, glad you were paying attention anyway. I guess they have the hammer.
I mean, 3.5 inches is room, but not a lot of room.
Not a lot, no. Well, Chelsea, it's good to have you out tonight. So while we got a chance here, how's everything going? Are you going to do some curling yourself? You originally were signed up to be in this field, but probably with everything going on last minute had to withdraw.
Yeah, we were excited about it. I'm playing some doubles with Colin Hodgson, but it just it's hard to balance. I'm not playing much women's, but he's still playing some men's schedule. So just trying to find the balance in there with keeping everything copacetic as far as COVID and everything goes with his men's team and with us and where we're going and things. So unfortunately, I was obviously pretty sad to have to pull out, which is why I'm down here doing commentary tonight.
Well,
But yeah, we're going to play hopefully a couple doubles events and give that a bit of a run. But I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing, because you can think you do until a day before the event, and then all of a sudden your plans change, right? So
No,
it's definitely one of those years.
definitely a sign of what's going on out there right now for sure. We're lucky we've had a couple events here. Well, we've had a junior bonspiel early October, and now we've got 3 weekends in a row of events going on. So
Yeah, you have the men's is it next weekend?
men's next weekend, ATB Classic, which the top 16 Alberta men's teams in the province will be here. And then the week after that, we have a ladies event with a stacked field of the likes of Holman and Einerson and Jennifer Jones and last year's Alberta champ Laura Walker. So
Yeah, that's awesome. It's it's good to see still some events happening when it's been tough, and normally all those teams would be at the Grand Slams, and now the Grand Slams aren't happening. So
yeah, exactly.
everyone's looking for other options, right? And with the way the travel restrictions go, Alberta is the easiest place for a lot of those teams to play. So nice to see some events being put on by clubs like this, and giving the teams an opportunity. Points have been suspended and everything, but you're still trying to be good at curling. You're you're trying to get your sea legs under you a little bit and get some competitive games in. So that's huge, and I'm sure the players are thankful. I know I have been thankful to see some of these events coming together, to give players an opportunity to get to compete at that kind of high level that they're used to.
Yeah, no, we were approached by some of the top men's teams and ladies and just said if we'd be interested in taking one on, and absolutely, we're trying doing everything we can here at Okotoks to provide a safe curling atmosphere and still put on a good show. And I mean, COVID, with the COVID going on, they're not at the slams, so it's kind of an advantage for us to get some of the best teams in the world here for sure.
It's a huge opportunity for especially the provinces that have a lot of the good teams, but you don't usually see them at local events because they're always at slams and things. So I think it's a massive opportunity, and I am really excited to see it being capitalized on by some of those local events in a couple different provinces where you've got some really, really high level teams that normally don't play at home very much because you follow the slams wherever they go.
Yep.
So now is the chance, and all the streaming and stuff. I think it's actually really good for the sport in a different way. Like, there's definitely been some benefit to COVID in that sense, and it's a huge opportunity for some of these curling clubs where normally they'd be playing in arenas to put on an event and get Kevin Cooey and Carrie Anderson and Rachel Holman and Jennifer Jones. Like, these are teams that normally would play mostly slams.
Yeah,
so
no, that's right.
it's a big opportunity, and not a lot of good has come out of COVID. So we might as well take advantage of the few good things we can milk from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sliding good, I'm going to trust that.
So we're just looking at maybe go over some of the basic rules of mixed doubles for our new listeners. Although we get thousands and thousands of views every game, so I'm sure they're all just tuning back in. But maybe let's go over some of the basic rules for mixed doubles just so they know.
Yeah, I think the biggest differences to me are the 2 placed rocks. First of all, obviously we've never seen that in 4-person curling. So
you always
in a regular end, one is placed back 4 foot, and then the guard is placed and then they change the depth. Like, different curling clubs will change the depth based on how much curl there is. Right. So if it's a little straighter, they'll put the guard a little longer. If it's a little more curl, they'll put it a little closer to the house. And then if it's a power play, both those rocks would shift to kind of the edge of the 8 foot, but it would be the same idea where there's a rock in the house and there's a guard. And then the other thing is the no hitting. So we talk about the free guard zone in men's and women's play. Here it's any rock. You can't hit any rock, which is quite a bit different. And I know the first event I played in with Colin, which was a few years ago now, we did hit one rock we weren't allowed to hit because we counted wrong. So that's always a bit of a change, especially for this year with less men's and women's. It's probably not as big a deal, but when you come from a normal event, a men's and women's event where you can hit rocks in the house, and then you're going, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, can we hit yet?
Yeah.
So it's a bit different for sure. I think those are the 2 biggest things for me, and obviously less rocks in total being thrown.
Lots of offense, though. We've seen it all day today. Lots of rocks in play. Really battling for the angles early in the end.
Yeah, it's a bit like skins to me, because not that you're not allowed to hit in skins, you can, but you don't. So it's all about setting up angles on the top of the house. You probably leave everything. I remember the first skins game I ever played in. My dad told me the skins is the same as regular men's and women's. Now this was in 4 rock rule days, but he said it's the same as the regular one, except instead of racing to the top of the 4-foot, you race to the top of the 12-foot, because it's about tapping and promotion and little short runs and things. And now I would suggest you even race to like sort of a tight guard situation. So it just moves everything up a little bit, because you don't really want to be top 4 too early, because that rock's not going to stay there. So it's going to get moved. So leave everything a little bit higher, and it's all about angles. Wherever it is, you just need to be setting up angles, because once you can start hitting, you see some howitzers coming down from usually the male of the team, but not always, and that's throwing the middle 3. You wait till you can hit, and then you'll see a lot of run backs and a lot of doubles and things, because there's always a mess of rocks in the middle, but that's what makes it so fun to watch. Is that it's a bit of a race to the 4-foot, and it's super offensive, to your point. There's no, and the other difference, I guess, that I didn't mention is that there's no point in blanking an end in mixed doubles, the same as skins, because you'll lose the hammer anyway.
That's right.
So it, like, you'd see somebody drop a 1 instead of a blank, but what you'd see more than that is them trying to set up multiple points earlier versus bailing early and saying, okay, we'll take our blank, we're happy with that.
That's right. Yeah, they lose the hammer anyway. So.
I don't mind this.
Yeah,
Tyler.
they won't. They're definitely not allowed to hit any rocks until the 5th thrown rock. So we really don't see any. It's all about battling for those angles early. And right now, it looks like Kleibrink and Broderson have control of the top of that 4.
Sure, yep.
Yeah, those two frozen yellow rocks in the top of the 4-foot and sort of top of the button area are lined up really, really well for Kleibrink and Broderson here.
Trying to play a little quiet in off. Get another one in by the button.
Good call.
Nice shot.
Thanks.
That's perfect result for what they were playing.
I think the idea there, as much as it wasn't so much about getting their another rock into the 4-foot because they were set up so well, it was if they don't play that, then the other team is going to. So you leave it for them. So you could have just ripped that rock on the high side if you wanted to, I suppose, but it was an opportunity to get inside. The biggest thing there, though, was not hitting it on the nose.
That's right.
Because then you're giving it back, you're handing it back and saying, okay, here's your chance to get to shot rock, which if that rock wasn't there, they couldn't do.
Like freezing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if anything, if you hit it right, you could suck right into here.
We had tap and unlock.
Yeah, even if you want to unlock it, make my shot a little easier. But
I don't want to tap much, right? I'd hate to roll out.
Yeah.
So
even if you just threw like back 8 at it.
If I throw the same weight on my 3, is that too much?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, let's do that.
So they're trying to lock one in here and just maybe bounce it open a little bit, but they'd hate to bounce off and leave the same shot for Broderson and Kleibrink there.
Yeah, they're in jail a little bit here. It's about trying to leave something.
And you know what? And they're so close
for
side
Megan
by
Johnson
side.
on her last, I think, as much as anything else.
You know, it's not going to kill the weight.
Yeah.
Back one, it should roll out.
We heard a comment earlier that this is a situation you're hoping to force them to 2.
Oh yeah, you'd be like, that is a start the car situation if you could just give them 2, get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I don't even hate a hair less.
Yeah. Weight's fine. Hair
The
less.
exact same.
Well, we've been
early.
getting lots of curl, and speed's been
line's
pretty
close.
consistent through the whole games, right around the 15, so players seem to like it for the mixed doubles for sure.
Yeah, anytime you can get some curl and anywhere between 14 and 15 seconds,
Yeah,
you're
line,
pretty happy.
line. Hard, Meg, hard. Sorry, Meg. I thought that was good. Okay.
Well, it bounced open a bit, but it's still a little bit of a dangerous rock for Broderson Kleibrink here.
Yeah, I just heard her say I don't really like it, and I agree with her that you're still in a pretty good spot, but that rock is the only chance
This open.
for Johnson to make something here to even limit you to 1.
If we tap it way over there or out, they don't have much.
Okay, so you like the double?
I think so,
With
yeah.
what?
Normal?
Yeah, the double's probably the right call here.
I like it. That was my first thought. Kyler obviously comes from a pretty good pedigree of pretty smart skips. So I think it's the right call. And you don't even have to make it perfect. Because if you tap this other red into the open, like say you hit it a little too thick, and you tap the centerline red into the open a bit, that's the wrong angle for Johnson to be coming at anyway, so it doesn't really help. So I don't think there's a lot of risk in trying the double, which makes it even more appealing.
Get over there.
Okay, that's okay.
I guess I could have thrown it harder.
Yeah, we got to watch Kyler's parents play this morning. They were a feature game this morning. Shannon and Richard playing in their first
I
ever
think so.
mixed doubles
I think
event,
I
and
might have to throw.
came right down to Kayla Skrulik, had to draw the button for the win, and
I feel like even
I'd rather
unfortunately for
broom.
the Kleibrink, she made it, but
uh,
now they've gone out
half,
1-2 in a row here,
Right,
so
turn.
they're on a roll. I
Yep.
expect to see them in the playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah,
thinking come
Shannon's
into
just
it.
one of those people
Yeah.
that
If you can
she can
just
take all the time off
touch
she
this
wants, and
enough
she
to-
can not play, and then she
I
just
don't know
shows
how
up and
far
makes
one's going,
everything.
which is
Yeah.
okay.
Always drove me crazy when I played against her.
Hey, kiddo, do
Yeah,
your thing.
right here.
I think we're going to see a bit of curl. I think that's okay for normal.
Let's do it.
Well, we're going to see a little
So
in
you
off
said
here.
want a broom or sweeper?
Broom.
Yeah.
Don't know if they can remove any of the yellows, but they might be able to get.
I think the
Sit
best
in
case
there for a
scenario
second.
is, I don't know that you can score. We need the overhead back here to be able to tell for sure, but I think it's probably going to always jam in there. But like we said, at this point, even if you gave up 2, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Just try to get in there for second, and you'd be pretty happy at this point, the way this end has gone.
Yeah, you can.
Ah,
Just a little tight out of her hand, I think. Yeah. Well, now, how do you get another rock in there?
That's right. We couldn't go thin
oh
on
well.
Yeah,
Out turn.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to be.
It's pretty curly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll curl.
Yeah, looking at that overhead,
You just want like the same weight as my first one.
Yep. Just draw the button. Wait, it's great.
looks like they're sitting 2 right now.
I don't think we
Old
should take
Dead-Eye
a
Deb
tight
next
turn
to
or
me
it'll
says 2
probably
for sure.
die.
I
she's
agree,
never
it's
been
2, but it wouldn't
do
take
like
much. You
close
only have to
to
move that
edge.
top yellow rock
Okay.
probably an inch, not a whole lot more than that,
So I'll just take that.
to sit
Okay.
your third point. So I think they're trying an out turn. Heard Kyler say it's pretty curly here, so
You got
they're
it.
thinking it's going to move enough. You just need like a T-line back 4-foot kind of weight here. You're not going to move either of your 2 shot stones out. So again, a really low risk opportunity here to tap this in to sit for your third point.
Back 4.
Line's good. Lots of room. Lots of room. Line's good. Yep. Hard. Hard. Line's great.
Got to move it an inch, like you said.
The line's perfect if it's got the weight, which it looks
Great
like
shot.
it does.
Very nice.
3.
Well, that's quite a start for Kleibrink Broderson. Get off to a 3 ball right off the get-go.
Can't hurt you. The good news here is that, not so much the good news here for Kleibrink and Broderson, is that no lead is safe in mixed doubles.
Oh, that is true.
We see a lot of 4s and 5s and crazy line scores. So nothing's ever over, which is, again, what makes it so exciting to watch and so stressful to play. I would suggest it's taken years off my life playing mixed doubles, but I really like watching it. So
Yeah, no, earlier in the game, they were down quite a bit on Ginter and Schneemann there, and next thing you know, 6 ends, and it was game over. Kleibrink had won again, so they scored a few big ends in a row and shook hands,
Intern?
or tapped brooms today. There's not a lot of shaking hands.
no, yeah, probably not a great idea.
Hair
A
hot.
little more.
Line's good. Little bit line. Room. Room. Lots of room. Line's good.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Put one in there, back 4.
So
Seems like
14-5,
they all
eh?
try and get it
Yeah,
frozen
that-
on their first one at that back 4 shot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
we've-
you know?
I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I'm not so sure it matters that it's frozen. I think the biggest thing is being shot and buried. I actually think a lot of times, depending on how much the ice curls and where the depth of
I
that
was thinking
center guard,
Close.
that it can be better to be top
Mine's
4 and
fine.
buried than it
Okay.
is to be
Mine's
frozen,
fine.
because then
It's-
you're back button. But a lot of that is score dependent as well. It's a bit of a scoreboard management situation. If I'm up quite a bit, then I like being frozen,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
then you're shrinking the scoring area. If you're trying to generate multiple points, then you probably don't want to be frozen that early, because now you're shrinking your own scoring area too. So it's a debate that a lot of the doubles teams have, and I'm not sure anyone has the exact answer yet. But I think as long as you're shot rock, it's a pretty good situation overall.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It's definitely fun to be part of because really
Line four.
it's new. Even though
little
mixed
right.
doubles isn't new, but
Justin.
really analyzing the strategy and knowing exactly
right.
what to play at certain times is definitely new, and all these teams are trying to
Yep.
figure it out. So
Yeah, and it's pretty new to Canada. It's
That's
not new to the rest of the world, but
Mine's
until it
good.
became an Olympic sport here, it wasn't paid a whole lot of attention to by a lot of the top players. So now
That's good.
it becomes an Olympic sport, and everybody goes, "Oh my gosh,
yeah, you got a
we better
chance.
figure out this game."
Good feet.
So it's a moving target, I think, still all the time with exactly what the right strategy is, and when there's still a lot of debate about when there's the power play. If you're up, do you play the tick? Do you throw
Okay.
to the middle? What do you
That
do?
Didn't quite get to center.
And a lot of the
that way.
teams
I-
would play that different
Actually,
ways
it's
and have
probably
different
good, eh?
opinions
Or-
about it, which makes
throw
it
the same
fun
way that
too,
I've been
because you can
throwing.
debate it. So there's been a lot of, I know Colin and I, and last year I played a bit with Braden Muskowee, and we had a lot of those conversations, like what's the move in that situation? Do you try the tick, but if you miss it, it's bad?
Yeah.
You can just go to the middle, they can't hit it. But then if they throw a freeze, now they're still buried around the guard. There's just a lot of moving
I'm tight
parts,
early.
and
Tight early.
in men's and
Hard-
women's, we
hard,
tend
Megan.
to,
You got to go hard line.
not that everybody plays the same
Hard
strategy,
line.
but there's 2 or 3 that are generally accepted
Hard
as you're going
line.
to do one of these things.
Hard line.
And in
Hard
doubles,
line.
it's still a lot more up in the air.
Go, go, go. Yeah, chap.
Well, we had a pretty good comment out there on YouTube from Bradley. He said
Tap it a foot.
the coverage has been super good. I
don't know
only
the
talk
pass
about
at
the
all,
good
though.
comments. The
Oh, hit it.
And then he said he finds it interesting watching curlers that he doesn't know, which is probably great
we
for the
can hit.
curlers to get on some
Spin a
live
lot
streams.
of
They
rock.
usually aren't on TV and mic'd
Okay,
up,
what do you
so
wanna throw at
it's
this?
quite a unique experience for a lot of
Normal.
those teams as well.
One, like, to his point, it's also great for people watching because you end up seeing the same teams all the time, and it's easy to get to, I mean, for years, we saw Kevin Martin play Glenn Howard in the final of everything.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
like, they're 2 of the best teams to ever play the game. It's not a disrespectful thing, but you just get tired of it. So you're so excited when somebody new breaks through when you get to watch them. Well, in events like this and with COVID, it being so regional, you're getting some exposure of teams and players that we maybe haven't seen, but that's fun. It's fun to see new people
That's
and
right, yeah.
different strategies and different techniques and
brand
things
new.
like that's kind of
Holy.
neat, and like even for me to watch and
Wow.
or to play. I get asked that all the time. What's the difference? I'm like, it doesn't, it's not that it's boring, but when
Came down to,
we
like,
play Jennifer or
We-
Rachel or Anna Hasselborg or whoever that we play
Didn't
every
roll.
week,
Left.
I know what they're going to do and they know what I'm going to do.
Like hit and roll on top of
Based
the
on what? So like I
can
know
even
in the
farther.
first end, if I'm playing against
roll-
Rachel and
rolling
she is the
big.
hammer,
Under
if
our
I go
own
in,
rock.
she's going to hit
Yep.
it and take a
Or
blank.
even farther.
But I also know if I'm playing Jennifer, she won't. She's going to throw me a corner guard, so I don't have to throw a guard. She will. And
Yeah.
everybody, and they know the same thing about me.
I'll throw normal,
Everybody just you play each other so much
Yeah, you're right.
that it's all a bit
Give it a
preset,
chance.
sort of, with the plays. Where when you play teams you don't know, you have to adopt, like you have to really go to your own strategy versus trying to play against the other team,
Inch
which
high
is a
is
whole
pretty close.
different
You got it.
kettle of fish in a lot of ways. So
Yep.
it's super interesting, and for me, I like watching. And a lot of these players that people were going to see, they're up and coming, they're young players.
Yep.
So that's fun too. You see people come out of
Hard.
juniors and come through
Hard.
some of this kind of
Hard.
stuff, and the next thing you know, they're
Hard.
Brendan Botcher and they're in
Hard,
fire
man.
finals.
Exactly.
Whoa, whoa.
I mean, I think it's crazy where they can one day be playing John Epping and Lisa Weigel on the sheet next to them, and I mean, what are the chances they get to play those without COVID? Without those teams without COVID?
Exactly.
So-
Well, and that's what's great about doubles anyway, because you do get more chances to play teams like that. But in
This is
men's and
live stream.
women's, so we saw it in Banff. We'll see it here with the men's event and with the women's event. where some of the younger teams in Alberta that can't necessarily afford to travel and wouldn't qualify for slams, they're going to get to
quite like
play
my
Jennifer
release.
Jones and Rachel Holman and Carrie Enerson and Kevin Cooey and all
also, I
these
wasn't even
teams
seeing
that
the guard coming into
normally
play.
they
It
might
did-
not get a chance to.
no,
So
it's
it's a
still
great
been-
learning
I know
and
you don't
development
see it until
opportunity.
it's
I think
there
that
and you're like,
COVID
oh.
in a lot of ways has benefited
What's up?
the up and coming
You don't see
teams
it
by
until it's
giving
there
them
and
this
then it's like-
exposure a bit
Yeah.
earlier and a bit more
I never
frequently
thought that'd be in
than
play.
they maybe would have otherwise had it.
Yeah, no, it's a great comment, Bradley. Thanks for the comment. Anybody else wants to throw a comment, we'll look at it. It's got to be positive. I don't look at it if it's negative. Or if you want to ask Chelsea a question, now's your chance. Maybe tomorrow too, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be here
okay,
tomorrow
so
too.
there you go.
Good throw.
Well, recognizing the scoreboard,
That actually couldn't have worked out any
yeah,
better.
it's frozen on the one at the back, sitting 1 and 2.
That is a
Try to
great
draw, make a
shot.
draw.
Honestly, even if you just want to come sit on this one.
I think they might just peel it though, and then we're
Yeah.
forced.
I love the
Maybe two
bug that
stones
the
to try to
boys
make
asked. I know earlier, I
some
know
happen.
all our viewers didn't. I lost track a few times because only 5 rocks. And
can
now
get-
we've added the rocks on the screen,
3/4
which
covering the 4 foot. So
Yeah.
just another notch on their belt over there, stepping it up. You ask them to do something, and look out, it happens. Guys, when are we going to get a telestrator here so I can draw circles on the, or telecaster,
All
whatever
right.
it's called?
I'm still liking the way I'm throwing, right? It just
Oh yeah.
okay.
So playing the come around here.
Whereabouts are you
Like
thinking for us?
edge of the yellow.
Yep.
Yeah, he's recognized he's probably going to
Yeah, I
get
like
forced to
that
take
ice.
one, so might as well be aggressive here.
Give it a chance.
And again, a blank doesn't help you. You could probably blast all those rocks and kill all 3 of them potentially, but that isn't really helpful because it's still going to put you in a situation where without having the opportunity to blank, you're going to end up taking one. So
Touch
this is
hard,
your
if anything,
chance to
yeah.
get 2, and it's pretty low risk because even if you don't make it or even if they chase you and
Lines-
take it out, you
lines
should
got
have most of the
chances. Yep,
4 foot
line.
Back
to
forward.
draw for your single
Room.
point.
Room.
Back 8.
Okay, a little heavy
It's
here.
got a chance if you want to finish
It's
it.
really walking over there though.
Well,
Nice throw.
shoot.
Ooh, yeah, just a little bit too far. That was curling so much I thought it might come down a little more than that, but
Sure.
I think here's
a
close.
foot less
Okay.
weight. It would have been shot and buried.
Broderson's going to try and follow him down here and just probably stay above the tee line, force them to draw the 4 foot for 1.
Yeah, if you could place this, you'd probably put it full 4, basically right near the tee line, top side of the tee line, just to make the draw harder. But as
2
long as
feet
your
more
second
than
shot, it's a
regular
force
weight
regardless.
would
It
be
probably
great.
is anyways, but just make sure your second mostly here is plan A, and then try to get it as close to the button as you can to make the draw for 1 a little bit harder.
Just T line.
Okay, here. Yeah, a little bit. Yep,
But
line.
that started maybe a little bit.
Hard line.
Got to go hard for
Yeah,
line here if
good.
it's anything
Line's
like the
good.
last one.
Line's really good.
That
Nice
was a
shot.
Very nice touch.
Just a hair soft with that out of my hand, I think.
Okay.
It went pretty.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
like you
Do you like
said,
coming
got to
down
go
on the
hard for
corner or
line based on the
cold?
last one. But the thing that's
Just
so
for line.
crazy on ice that curls like this, especially with it being late finish,
I don't see
is
what
that
else
if
I
you hit
can.
something early, it can completely change the line that it's on. So,
I'll do
but
the
the
free
important
drive
thing
and
there
the
is to
free roll.
recognize that it was a little bit soft and sweep it early. So
It's
you'll hear players
running
say something like
as
hit
you
it
know it.
early on purpose to try to kick it back out to the line that they
14-5.
wanted when they know they didn't set it as much as they were supposed to.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he wasn't sweeping for line anymore. Line was perfect, pretty
That's
quick
right.
there, and you just saw Kyler dust it in. So, I mean, obviously Kyler is also a very good sweeper, which is helpful to the situation. But that little bit of an early hit, if you know that you've not maybe quite
Close,
gotten
eh?
out to the broom, or like she said, a little soft
think
out of
we're
her
close
hand,
enough that
that's
I can-
in reference to her release.
Go then.
Not quite as much set, not quite as positive as she had envisioned.
Yep.
But
Go
it's
then.
pretty easy to fix if you get on it early. But if you wait until it starts to break, then you can't save it.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All good points that we try and tell recreational curlers all the time. They got to anticipate the curl because
Shot.
once it starts curling, you're probably not stopping it. You're just making it go farther. So
Yeah, anything with late curl, if you don't start sweeping it before the break point, you're in trouble. It's never coming back. You're probably making it curl more by sweeping it.
yeah, we tell them that all the time, but it's a hard thing for people to learn sometimes. Well, great draw there. She got her one. Maybe we'll get a little update of what's going on around the sheets here. As soon as I figure out, I can see they're all down the far end. Well, the hammer switches back. Kleibrink, Broderson now have the
I'm
hammer.
gonna go out turn again, or in turn again, just see what I know.
Well, we've got on sheet one, we've got Shortridge Smith,
Slid out really slow. so
which
that
is
you
now,
Okay.
they're up 4-0 on
I thought
Shulman
it was a pound
Ouellette
less.
from
Line's
Cold
fine.
Lake. On sheet three, we've got Tran
kidding,
Shaslinski
Okay.
up 4-0
Let's
on
close, second
Conway
race.
and Gillis.
Yep. Yep.
On
Hard
sheet
right.
4, we have Muse and your roommate, Coco. I don't even
Coco.
try to, you can do the last name.
Coco Rayanis.
Coco Rayanis, there you go. And Damon Van Amsterdam, so Muse and Coco are up 2-0. On sheet 5, we've got Skrillex Hamilton. They're on a roll over there. They're up 3-0 on Quinn Polaniak. And on sheet 6, we got Y. Tchaikovsky Dumont up 1-0 on the
Weight's
Kleibrinks.
nice.
Link your hair up.
We're
Line's
full
good.
button.
Okay, room. Line's good. Yep, yep. Room. Room.
Might poke out the other side here. You don't stop.
Sit down. Sit, sit.
The line would have been perfect if it was a foot
Good.
and a half less weight.
We can just take like more ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew the weight was all there. Kyler sweeping that for line, so
We can
suggesting,
get,
which
an
I
inch
would agree
low
with, that
and tap it.
maybe just take a
Okay,
hair less
yeah.
ice, and he didn't want to sweep
I
it
don't
for
mind, just
weight.
unlock
He
it
could have just dusted
Yeah.
it in there for line. So just needing a little bit
I mean,
more ice in
nose-
that spot with the
kinda
amount
play
of
for nose
weight
and if it's
finish
close.
here. Not a surprise that we're seeing some overcurls.
Well, it seems like both teams like to play different sides of the sheets here. One's playing the out-turn side coming home, the other one's playing the
It's pretty
in-turns.
close.
It's their draw to the button side, so
Okay.
not that surprising.
Room.
They play their whole practices on those two
Okay,
sides
go
of
if
the
you need
sheets.
to. Line's
but
okay. Okay, line's good. Hard make.
Top 8.
Okay. Yeah, finish if you can. Keep going if you can. Okay.
That's okay.
So challenge there was that the miss on that, actually your pro side miss would have been to be heavy there, because you could tap those a bit, would still be
Yeah, I think
okay.
we
Now
gotta
you've
draw
essentially
to it
thrown
before they
another
do.
guard for
Draw the
those two
yellows.
yellows,
Yeah.
which are back T line, but not
Draw
even
the
like you
button,
could
I
barely
think.
see that little piece
This
of the
way,
pin
okay.
there. So
Sure. Yeah.
bit of a tough situation when you're trying to generate a steal really here in this situation.
Down 3-1 without, you definitely got to be real aggressive on
The
a steal.
force is okay, but that's the
good.
most you want to do,
Okay.
and right now it's a pretty low risk situation
Hold
for
line.
Broderson
Yep.
Kleibrink to set up a multiple point score, maybe even more
T-line.
than 2.
Okay, yep.
T-line.
Yep. Room.
Trying to go around
T-line.
this one top 8, like
Well-
you said, then we're going to try and use it as a guard.
A
Curl.
little bit of curl if you can.
T-line's a
That's
little
all
deeper
there.
than they wanted.
Nice throw.
It's not bad because again, it's that red rock they just threw is the one that's hurting them right
That's
now.
right,
If there was
yeah.
just that guard, you could come in pretty easily and kind of tap
I'll be
those
out turn
around,
now?
and the yellow rocks are your
finish is
friends as
good.
long as you can move them a little bit. But right now they
Do you wanna
can't
follow
get
on
there.
in,
There's
or-
no access.
Yep. See what you can do.
I'll give you a pound more.
Let's do it.
Sounds like they're trying to hit that hole.
Touch inside 8. It seems a little more patient on this side.
Oh, playing the out-turn. So trying to follow Kyler down. Get a little tap here.
Heard him say a pound more, so they're thinking just like a freeze tap kind of thing, get as close to the nose of that as they can and set up some angles, because right now the angles are all
Okay.
in favor
Back four.
of
Okay.
Kyler and
See then.
Chantel.
Line's. Line. Hard. Hard line! Hard man! Oh. Yeah. Yeah, touch it. Touch it, touch it, go, go, go.
Just went on him early there.
Yeah, that's been a few that have gone on him early. I'm not sure if it's maybe a rock that curls a little bit more, or if it is just not
You
quite
thought
as
that was more to
positive
my
a
hand,
release.
eh?
It's just it's ice that
so
curls a
too.
lot. It can be hard, you know, for Broderson Kleibrink. They play on swinging ice a lot more in you know, some of the bigger events that they've played in, where it can be a little bit tricky to figure out how wide you have, how hard you have to set it on ice that really moves a lot. So not sure what's causing it, but we've definitely seen some over curls the whole game on that side.
Kyler looks like he's just going to throw up a guard here and block that hole.
Yeah, not needing to take a lot of risk, obviously, sitting 3 around the button there. They're pretty happy with the situation, so make
Just the two.
just basically try. They're going to throw some kind of run back combo here. That's the only option that that they're going to have. So trying to make that as difficult as possible for Kyler.
That's good. Like, why is it going sideways?
Yeah.
Chip it in.
Yeah. Almost as thin as we can get it.
Hey.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So back line, I want to give it enough weight out, way out wide, right?
Yeah.
I'm just don't take too much curl out.
Oh, it's you.
See, they lost track themselves. They need our dots to know.
That's so easy to do in doubles. We've had that when Colin and I played at the Continental Cup in mixed doubles together in 2017, I guess. And we hadn't played all season that year together in doubles.
3/4 of
and
8 foot?
We'd only played one season of doubles before. Anyways, at the Continental Cup, we're all mic'd, and on TV you can hear us, but it's the only arena I've ever played in where the crowd can hear us because they've all got headsets.
Yeah. Don't want to whip
So
this, but
we have this whole long conversation about what we're going to play, and we agree on what we're going to play. And then we both are standing there looking at each other. I'm waiting for him to go back to the hack to throw it, and he's waiting for me to because it's my shot. And he goes, it's you.
early.
And I was
hard
like,
early.
oh.
Hard line.
And then the whole
Hard line.
crowd starts killing themselves laughing. And it scared me because in the arena you don't normally get that reaction because they can't hear you.
Back 8.
Room.
This is looking like a
Wow,
piss.
very
shot, Rye.
nice.
Thanks. Are we second?
You're second.
Okay.
Well, we're third.
Yeah, I don't think they're second, but they are third.
Yeah.
The challenge
Normal?
with that to me is that
Or do we need peel?
it almost seemed like that was your
case I
your
hit
get
it
out of
flat
jail
enough to
card
do
for
that.
the last
I don't
rock.
mind
I
peel.
think that was
Okay,
maybe a little
peel.
early to throw that. I'd have been
We
looking
don't
at
want
some
to
kind
get rid
of
of our 7.
run in there, just move some grounded a little bit around that
Firm?
right because it's pretty
Just
shrunk
really
right now.
thick, hey?
That's a nearly
there.
perfect shot, and
Just under
you're
that.
I mean,
still
as long as you roll
only
this much,
sitting
you're
third.
very
Yeah.
anyways,
Big
right?
trouble still. Yeah, if they make this one and roll it in there, I'm not sure how they're going to remove anything.
Yeah, I don't know that you can. The problem here
like here?
for
Yep.
Johnson Fenrich is that wide red guard now is not lined up, like to get to that top rock in the top of the 8 foot, and then slam it back the way you need to, which is the opposite direction. The momentum just won't let you do that. So the angles again looking less than favorable.
Curl?
Yep, to roll out. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. That's good.
So audible there, good call. The idea being similar to what we talked about in the first end, just
If I
don't
can
hit it
get
on the
to curl
nose
enough,
because
then I
then they
like-
can come off it. So when it wasn't going to curl enough
touch
to
it, you're
get
good.
inside,
Yeah.
just get it out of there. It's a
Will it curl
it's,
enough past the 3?
seems counterintuitive to hit that
Is there
and
any
want to
harm in
roll
trying to-
out, but
No,
it's
I
better
guess
than
you
hitting it
gotta
on the
hit.
nose.
That's, yeah.
Well, we had another shout out to Tori Kleibrink.
Wait, Meg, we're third.
We all knew that Kyler had a sister.
don't know
Just
if I
never
can
met
get
her because
past
she
the
doesn't
3.
curl. But
With enough weight.
I hear
that
she's
would
a heck
also
of a
get us
ball
past
player, though.
this.
Can you hit here with hack?
And they're a pretty athletic
Can you hit here
family,
with
so that
half and
doesn't
just lean
surprise me.
wide?
Definitely a
You wanna
strong
try that?
Kleibrink presence here.
yeah, so
Or
she's
even-
enjoying
you don't even-
watching
you
the live
don't
stream
don't
at
even
home.
need hack.
Just like back line.
And then we got
Back
a
line will
we got a
do,
very impressive commentary
Yeah.
and oh yeah, cameras as well. I
would
guess it's pretty
prefer
good.
broom.
Watch
Broom,
out
okay.
TSN.
I'm thinking
Hair less. Hair less. Yeah.
Lord knows I can't read ice tonight. Let's do it, kiddo.
Just try and throw some weight here and bump that second shot out. Back 12 or something. Tough shot, but we know a curl's in there.
Close, yep, yep. Yep, hard line, hard line. Hard line, Meg. Whoa, whoa, try to tick, sorry, I was trying to do something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Weight was probably pretty, I got 13.5. Weight was probably pretty close, eh?
Yeah. I think weight would have been at least like back 12, back line.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you should stay over there.
Yeah, same throw as that other one.
Okay.
You got it.
Well, they're going to try and get a third point in there. Is it even possible?
I think it's possible, and I think, again, the thing here, you heard Kyler say throw it away if you don't think it's there. They're not going to take any risk for the third point, but I think you just try to throw this in there. If it curls enough, you might be able to grab enough of the button to
Weight's
get your
all
third
there.
point, and
Okay, line's
you're never
good.
going to
Line
cost
only.
yourself either of the 2
Lots
points
of
that are
room
already
right
sitting
now.
there. So super low risk
Pull.
opportunity. I think
Pull.
worth a try. If it were me, I'd be throwing it, and if you don't make it, you don't make it.
Line's really good.
Close.
Got a
or-
curl.
It needs to curl a fair bit here, I think, at the end. Weight
Okay,
looks
good throw.
perfect.
2.
Yeah, if that curls another couple inches, it's probably in there for your 3. But again, low risk opportunity. Why not try it?
Well, that's a big deuce. Now the score after 3 ends is Kleibrink Broderson 5 and Johnson Fenrich 1. After 3, it was 5-1. Well, we know that there's still lots of game to go here, and there's a chance to battle back, but they got to try and beat them in there earlier and get the ice figured out.
Yeah, they've been chasing most of the game here, so need a better setup early to,
Yep.
you know,
weights,
it's
get
certainly not out of
a
reach.
bit
Get a
more
2 or a
ice.
3 here, and you're right back
Got
in
it.
the game. But the issue's been, you know, after the first couple shots, they've been chasing the whole time. So need a little better start here and make some. Again, it's all about angles early
button
in mixed
weight.
doubles. So just get some better angles here
Line's
so that you
good.
have. They're throwing really hard shots
Lots of room.
from about the third shot on the first few ends that we've seen. So
Lots of room.
try to get that turned around and set it up a little better and give
Line's
yourself a
good.
chance.
Nice shot.
Here you go, up by a lot. No problem with freezing one in there.
They just end up following her down. Yeah.
It really
Same
is. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the differences too. That's a more subtle difference until you play it. I'm not sure you realize it. That first shot is wildly important in mixed doubles. If you make it,
I was wanting a
you're
little
in
more, yeah.
usually pretty good
These
shape.
ones curl hard
You
too.
don't make it. Like Colin and I used to joke about it. If I don't make the first one, then he's throwing at least 2 runbacks. Period. Every time. Because you just put yourself in so much trouble early. And that's what I said about it being shot rock to me is the most important part. It's less about exactly where it is, if it's frozen or higher or whatever. Just be shot so that they have to do something with it if you're heavy or light. And if you're light, usually set up basically another guard. It's just such a disaster that your other player, which typically is the male but doesn't have to be, but your middle 3 person is throwing a lot of big weight runbacks just to clear stuff up and give you a chance for one, like just a chance to score.
Line's good.
Yeah,
Lots
very
of room
important
right now,
as we
got
can
a
tell for
curl.
sure in this
Top
game.
4.
Oh, really got a curl. Still on the red. There it goes.
And again, for Johnson
A little
Fenrich, we've
bit
just
there on
seen
its own.
almost everything over curl. just struggling to figure out the amount of curl and the amount of ice that they need
that's
with
good.
those. The weight seems to me like it's mostly been
14-2.
close. They've just ticked a lot of guards
Did we ever
or
get
that
to
kind
the
of
top
thing.
four
And
one?
that
Like freezing the top 4 one?
that's
Yeah.
killing them,
Yeah.
especially early in the ends, just getting in a tough
All right.
position early, and Broderson and Kleibrink aren't missing anything. So, no, don't want to give them more opportunities than they're going to have anyways.
I'm
Based
giving
on
you
how
a
well
top
they're
8 all
playing.
game, so I'll
No,
make
that's
it a little
right.
easier for you.
You got it.
Like, foot should be close. If we can do that. Right.
Yeah, we were noticing earlier some of these teams just have a little difficulty in these doubles to continue with that follow through.
No,
good.
heavy.
Trying to make the shots themselves sometimes.
Weight's fine.
Forget just throw the rock.
Okay, you got lots of room.
Still throwing curling shots just like any other game.
You're always on the red.
You know, people say that a lot to me. They ask me that question a fair bit about, it must be
Oy,
so much
crumb.
harder to have one sweeper. I would suggest to you, or to anybody that asks me this question, that it's actually for the women. Like, just having Colin, and this is no disrespect, I've had some great sweepers on my teams, but having Colin by
Your weight
himself
would have been fairly close. It was
is
probably
still
the
more
backboard.
effective than two women, because the second sweeper really doesn't do that much. So
Yeah.
essentially,
That's not a great
you're
throw,
basically
and
working on
couldn't-
what it does change is the communication and the, it's harder for the sweeper because they have to be doing both. They have to be looking up to hear and see the line call and where we are and whatever. So it's more work for them as the single sweeper. But from a physical standpoint, as far as how far you can drag the rock, on the women's side, that's not necessarily true. For some of the men, you might be seeing it where they've got one female sweeper now compared to their men's sweepers. If I'm BJ Neufeld and I have Ben Hebert sweeping for me all the time, or Mark Nichols or Brad Gushu, and then no matter how good a women's sweeper it is, I mean, at the end of the day, that's just a physical difference in what men can do with the sweeping versus what women can do. So
You want to run?
I think the biggest thing with one
Yeah,
sweeper
we
is
gotta
not so
score
much the
somehow.
physical part, but more the communication part
Even if
and the
you just
multiple
clear it
jobs
out of the
part.
front,
Usually your outside
makes it
sweeper
easier.
Yeah.
is the
Do you
one who's
like
doing the judging, and they're looking up and
double
communicating
keeler?
with the person in the
Let's leave
house.
red in.
And your inside
thought it was
sweeper
the
is
red.
basically just doing what they're told. Sweep for
Have you
line,
read
sweep
it?
for
Yeah.
weight. Like they're head down and going until they're told not to
Which turn do you want?
by the other sweeper.
do
So I
intern.
think that's the
Intern?
part that's a bit tricky. You also don't
throw
have a
firm,
person, you
so
don't have
it'd
two
be nice
different
to- if
people
we
for
can stick
line, so it's a different perspective for
something in
me
the
when I'm
house.
in the house versus when I'm the thrower. So my perspective in communicating to my sweeper is a little bit different. I think that those are the challenges more than the actual physical part of only having one sweeper. I know you hear it a lot where in doubles you're going to see shots missed because we only have one sweeper. Well, it's not the physical part.
Oh.
It's everything else that goes on with a tandem of sweepers and the
Judging
communication
weight.
and everything.
Firm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
Hard.
point.
Hard. Hard, Meg. Hard, Meg. Right to it. Hard. Whoa. Shooter.
All our hard work. Okay.
Well, constant
tough.
pressure here by
Yeah.
Kleibrink
Oh, you wanna
Broderson.
go in,
Or
like
guard.
here?
That or guards.
And
fine,
an
whatever
overcurl
you
again there. You had some
Probably guards
room for
better.
error
I like
on
the
the high
guard, yeah.
side. Could have hit that into either of those two yellow rocks and probably gotten a decent result. Move something yellow somewhere. And unfortunately overcurled again and didn't touch either one of them. So now another fairly low risk opportunity for Kyler to throw a tight guard. You could even come top 4 foot, kind of anywhere on the right line here will do the trick.
Line's good.
Just a 3.
Okay. Bit of room right now.
Kyler knows it's still going to go.
Good
He wants
three.
to hold it
Oh.
out there.
Almost 4.
Okay. Close for some. Just gotta leave it.
Close for curl.
Yeah.
Solid 4. 5.
That's fine. That's a good spot.
Well, he just overthrew that guard a little bit. Gave him a little bit of an out to get out of trouble here.
Probably the same weight. Get it curl past the guard a little bit.
Yeah, like firm.
Yeah. Could probably spin the 7. I don't think you're ever getting shot out of that one, but
No.
half chance, I guess.
Yep.
Like sticking the shooter's pretty good too, if we can.
Well, yeah, because you'd probably just end up rolling over a hair, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Do you
Okay.
want broom or sweeper?
You know what? I saw exactly curled. I'll get you a sweep again.
You know, nose hit double here might set up, might give him a chance to score multiple points in this end.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is making the double. Regardless of where your shooter goes, you can hit this in a few different spots. Probably anywhere from nose to 3/4 is maybe pushing it a bit, but could hit it a bit on the high side and still make the double and put yourself in a decent spot. Just surrounding that, it becomes a lonely
she's
yellow
good.
then if you
Just
make
get
this
by the
double. You
guard
just need to
by
kill 2 yellow rocks here and put a bit of pressure. Like you said, the pressure's all been
inch,
coming
3/4 of an
from Kleibrink Broderson. So for Johnson Fenrich here, just need to put a bit of pressure on them. So make this double, stick your shooter anywhere in the house, which if you're making the double, you are going to stick your shooter. And make them make something under a little bit of duress.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, he's got the same path he just threw on his run back. See if he gets out to the broom a little better. I mean, we can't tell. I always hit the broom in mixed doubles myself, but
Yes, hard, hard.
When no one's watching,
hard
it's
line.
hard to say you didn't.
Hard line, Meg!
He's in
Hard, you got
trouble here
it!
again.
Hard! 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 Hard!
Unlucky.
Oh no.
That's right. I don't think we can.
Not making it is one thing, but that couldn't have worked out much worse with the way they tapped that yellow in there as well.
Another one here.
Yeah. That's, or just straight guard that because that's their double for 2, right?
Right hand red as we look, or right hand yellow as we look at it, which would be the one that he thinks they can hit for 2. It's not an easy double for 2, even if it's there. You got to play it fairly quietly. There's
Should
not a
be
lot of
same
room,
speed
but
out
it is
there.
possible.
I can
Just
sweep
a
it.
2, hey?
Yeah.
he's taking a lot of ice here for this guard.
You're a little hot.
She did
Like
mention that she
this.
thought maybe take a little bit more and have him carve it at the end. I think that's smart because with the amount of late curl that we're seeing, if it starts to curl on you too early, you're dead.
Yeah.
So take a little bit
bit.
more ice. And
Curl,
worst
curl,
case scenario,
curl.
I talked already about you know Kyler being a very good sweeper. So here we see him switch to carve it, and
Great
it's
job.
perfect.
Nice
So
throw.
I think it's smart to take a little bit more ice, and then you can always get a little bit of a carve going at the end. Once it hits the break point and it starts to curl in there, that's when the carve is really, really effective. So he can switch sides and get it to go where, like
Why
I
don't-
say, if it
Why
starts
don't
curling
almost get a
early on you, and
multiple score out
as
of-
we've seen a number of times, good luck saving it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not
This,
sure
there, is it? Like,
no, it's not.
okay.
how they score
yeah,
here.
that's
They got to.
Yeah, I am
So
with
a
you. I
lot of
don't
trouble
see
here.
a lot there. You could
I don't know
maybe.
if the 4 is getting out, to be honest, but it might.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
Take the run back. Take the
Score something
angle
at this
run,
point.
See what happens.
You could also probably hit this long yellow
What
guard
are we
on the
thinking, like,
nose.
firm, catch as
Really
thin as they
close to
can
the
and
nose, and
I
it
was
makes the
thinking
double
the
and
free
kills the run
actually.
rock.
Run
But
the
the
free
challenge
yellow.
is you're running the wrong color in. So if you
Yeah.
ever hit it onto your own, it's really risky. But it's there. I would be playing this, the one that they're looking
Use
at,
the
this
top side
wide
of the
one.
4.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's honestly, it's not the thinnest. Like a quarter is good.
Okay. I'd honestly rather you hold room
Okay.
for this.
What kind of weight you throwing?
I'll probably end up throwing firm just because we're out here.
Firm.
It's interesting
I
to
can't
hear them
imagine a crazy amount of curl.
talk about
Right there?
broom versus
kiddo.
sweeping. And I know this is this is another moving part in the double situation is who sweeps when and when do you not worry about having a sweeper at all. I think on a shot like this that it's more beneficial to have a sweeper than it is to have a broom personally. And that's partially to do with the way that we play doubles is Colin always sweeps, so I never have a broom, so I'm used to it, I guess. But I just think that you should be able to visualize, like if you throw practice rocks by yourself, then you should be used to putting a broom somewhere that you can't actually see. So you pick a spot, like this one looks real close to the edge of the 12 foot to me. So then you just pick your spot and throw it there. But these, like if you miss this by a millimeter, you miss the shot. So to have somebody sweeping to make up that difference of like 1/8 of an inch or less, to me is a more beneficial thing, but it's comfort level. Like a lot of people don't like not having a broom.
Yep. No, it makes a good point.
2. Yeah.
You know, I find one thing that mixed doubles did wrong at the start when it comes to recreational curling is they made them hold the broom at the first. And
I agree with that.
and
I think that's unfortunate.
And I think a lot of recreational curlers still believe they have to be able to jump up and sweep their rocks. And I think that's what's stopping it from growing big time here in Canada.
I agree. I think that I mean, the rules changed for quite some time now, but because it started that way, I think it put something in people's heads, and I think it's too bad because like I say, I really believe that in a situation like that, you're better off with a sweeper than you are with a broom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for the 2 seconds that it takes you to get from the hack to the hog line, but then after that, you've got nobody doing anything. It's out of your control. So to me, I'd rather have somebody sweeping for 6 seconds, 7, 8 seconds while it gets down the ice than have a comfort level. And it's not even that. It's just for me to line up. Like once I kick out of the hack, the broom doesn't matter anymore
That's
anyways.
right, exactly.
So I think it's really overrated. I think people are put too much weight on having a broom to throw at when what they should be focused on is just picking a spot.
target
Even if
and
there's
throw.
not a broom to look at, that doesn't mean you don't pick a broom.
That's right.
And I think that that's the biggest thing. It's one of the best things I learned early in my life in practice is to not just throw, like to really pick a spot. There's lines in the bumpers here. There's a rock out on that side. If it's not edge of the 8 foot, I can say, okay, well, I can see the line
go.
in the wall there
Really
behind
gotta
that, or
go.
I'm going to aim right at the 2 on the scoreboard. Like pick something. Give yourself a spot and learn to throw without a broom, but at a target. Because otherwise you're going to get really good at draw weight and really bad at sliding at the broom.
Yeah,
You know, it's just one of those things. And now we've got all kinds of devices and you've got cones and you've got all this stuff that you can put it together for yourself in practice.
Like
Get
enough
used
yards?
to throwing without a broom to aim at. I think it's a huge skill that is undervalued, and especially in mixed doubles. If you can throw
Yeah.
confidently
Or
without a
you
broom to
have
look
time.
at
I honestly
and
don't
have your other players sweep the whole way down,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be a way better mixed doubles player than if you need a broom to throw
I'm
at.
thinking like edge of 4 again, or like middle of 4.
A little.
Yeah, when I'm skipping, no one throws at the broom anyway, so what's the difference? When I'm skipping, I don't even know why I have a
Here,
broom.
there,
My
and it's
players
over.
don't throw at it, and I don't sweep, so
We
it's a
might
waste.
be. No, it's okay, Meg. Am I ever finishing? We're almost.
If we're to
So we
it,
saw a great
Almost to
tick
it.
shot
take it
there.
behind.
I don't know if I
Broderson,
can. It's got a chance.
Kleibrink ticked the yellow into the rings and rolled the shooter out.
Okay. Not bad.
Okay. Nice sweep.
Well, Broderson Kleibrink being up by 7
maybe
to
do
1.
one more
They're just
guard hit.
I like it. Let's do it.
gonna throw this in the rings, and then you'll probably see them start hitting some rocks.
I aimed middle of 4. So
Middle 4? Okay. I'll throw a touch more with less weight and the.
yeah, just let me know.
Well, this end started out, we got to see the tick shot in mixed doubles. The corner guard was ticked into the rings, and they rolled their shooter out. So again, that's one of the things that's evolving over time here. You're seeing that played a little more often, especially when teams are up by quite a bit.
Yeah, you're also seeing it happen in men's and women's, and I've been asked this question a fair bit
I'll
about,
find it
do you
tight.
think that they need to
Okay,
do
we got
something
a
about the
curl
tick
for tight.
shot? And there's been lots of speculation about if the rock's touching the center line, you can't tick it and these kinds of things. And my argument,
We
I
got a
do
long
agree
ways to
something
go.
needs to
Keep
be
it-
done, but you can't just solve the
Got a good
center guard
chance,
tick
yep.
shot.
That's
If that's
right.
the case, you need to solve the corner guard
Hard
tick
over,
shot too,
hard
because
over.
it's actually
Hard over,
easier
got it, Meg. Go, go,
than
go.
the center guard tick shot, because you can throw
Hard, keep
bumper
going,
weight.
a little more.
Yeah.
You got the whole house to bump it into. You're not trying to get it just out of play or anything. You just need to move it anywhere towards the middle into the house so that you can hit it on the next one. And in doubles, that's not true, but in men's and women's, it is. Just tap it into the house so you can hit it. So it's easy, and it's not easy, but it's makeable, and it's being made a lot. So to me, if you're
1
gonna
inch last,
if you're gonna
please.
put in a rule
Yeah.
to deal with the center guard tick, you need to put in a rule to deal with the corner guard tick as well. And there is no lines for
That's
the corner
right.
guard tick. So
No,
then
you're
what do you do? But yeah, you see it in doubles a lot, and it was intimidating for me, and it was interesting because, of course, I play
Gotta
mixed doubles
sweep
with a lead.
Yeah.
And the first time we went to play it, we had never practiced it or
Okay, that
anything.
works.
And he's like, well, just play the tick. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to throw a tick.
I'm a skip.
Yeah, like, what do you
Yeah,
want from me?
Okay.
I know how to call a tick, but I don't know how to throw it.
I can give you a good line call, but I got nothing for throwing it. And we actually made the first one I ever threw, and I don't think I made about 8 or 9 after that. But
There you go.
the first one, I was like, hey, this is easy.
Yeah. Oh, God. New respect for your leads.
Totally.
I find the tick could actually be offensively used as well, too.
100%.
Tick it for 2 corner guards, you know, like, I don't know.
I agree with you. We had with my old team, we played it 2 different ways, and we called 2 different weights for it. So there was a defensive tick and an offensive tick.
Yeah.
If we threw a corner guard and we were trying to tick and roll behind, which was made famous by Lisa Weigel, making an awful lot of them in the 2013 Scotties and for years after that. That one you throw a little bit quieter because you're trying to keep your shooter and just roll it into the house. If you're trying to make a purely defensive tick, then you'd almost rather your shooter be gone,
right.
so you can throw it with a little bit more
Wait.
weight. So it's a difference of maybe
Okay.
half a second. It's not a
Okay.
lot. It's a couple feet. But we
At
would
the end,
play
yep,
them with
hard.
2 different weights, and we would actually have
Hard,
that
Meg.
conversation between ends. Is this an offensive
Meg.
tick or a defensive
Go,
tick?
go, go.
And
Got
that
it.
would
You wanna go
change
this one?
the weight we threw,
Hard,
and it
Meg.
would
Go,
change
go,
the
go,
ice I
go,
gave,
go.
therefore, because of the weight, and it
Go.
would also change how aggressive I was with a line
Good
call.
sweep.
So
Boy, I can make those
it
harder.
can
Good sweep.
definitely be used as a huge offensive weapon with a hammer.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can make the tick and roll your rock into the house for shot rock, and there's a corner guard in play, game on.
Exactly.
You know, you're in a really good spot. So it's not a purely defensive call. It's really useful defensively, but I do think that it needs to be looked at in 2 different ways,
That's
as an
right.
offensive play and a defensive play. And this is this is why you see the tick shot played, because even if you miss it, and this is what Colin always says, even if you don't make it, then he's got a couple
Cut it
chances
inside
at a
the
run
windows,
double,
please.
and even if he doesn't make a double, like a run back of some kind, and you're probably not giving up more than 2 if he's making contact with the rocks in the house. So because everything has to be so grouped on the side, it makes the tick less risky.
Sorry?
Even if you don't make it,
I'll throw
he's throwing run doubles, and if he throws the same shot in the same place a couple times, you gotta hope that at some point it's being made.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And same thing, Kyler missed his first one. On the second one here, he makes contact. Like, that's all you really need. You don't need to make it perfect. You don't need to make a run double. Kill the corner guard and 1 red in the house, and you're pretty happy. You're in a pretty good spot now.
Yeah, they're
Thinking,
hoping to just give up a
middle
dooce
of the
here
back
and move on
rock
to the
is
next end with
too
the
little.
hammer.
I'm gonna take a
Yeah,
little more.
pretty happy to give up a deuce with the line score the way it is. If it ends up being a forest, great, but you don't have to take a lot of risk to do it. So I think that strategy is smart.
Normal.
Playing a hit over here.
Control. Control down.
Okay, go then. Yep. Yep. Hard,
Gotta
Meg.
go her.
Hard, Meg. I'm counting. Go, go, go. Oh, when's the bar opens?
That is my favorite comment of the night by
There
far.
you go. There you go. True curler.
And we have all been there.
Pulls off a hair at the end, but I think that's close.
Okay.
Oh, God, that was great. Sometimes it's just not your night.
Happens to everyone.
Well, and it's funny, in the 2-person game, in doubles, it could be not your night. It really hurts. But sometimes it can be not your night in 4-person. You still might come out on top.
I've had several leads. Lainey Peters comes to mind, where she would say, if I play well, we always lose.
Yeah.
But when I'm bad, we win all the time. So it's definitely, there's more. I mean, if you're a skip, whether you have a bad night in 4-person or if you're the last rock thrower in doubles, you're probably going to lose anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But in 4-person, if you're playing front end, I mean, it's getting less and less that way, but there is still a chance that it turns around and goes your way, even if you're not playing well. In doubles, there's not a lot of room to hide. Everybody's kind of
No,
got to be
that's
playing
right.
well, or else you're in trouble.
You're in big trouble.
Yeah, that wasn't really normal. That was
Yeah.
a little
job.
more.
Oh, these 2 look tough. They're going to be tough to beat this weekend.
They've not missed much so
They're
far.
making a
They've
lot
not
of
had a lot of
shots.
pressure on them
Go home
either,
and
so it's a
true.
bit hard to say on that side. But I don't know that I've seen either one of them really miss a shot yet. So
No.
it's pretty impressive. think in events like this too, locals have an advantage. If you're playing on the ice, if you're familiar with the ice conditions with different sheets and the sheet shapes and things,
Yeah,
and maybe
that's
a
true.
rock or two, that where
gonna throw
if you go to a
9-5.
Grand Slam event,
'Kay.
it's on a different arena every time, so everybody's got a rock book. But in curling clubs, I know I've found that before when I go to the Autumn Gold at the Calgary Curling Club, and I mean I practice there occasionally, but I don't mostly. I'm
throw
at the
early.
Glencoe mostly, and we play against some local Calgary teams that
Looks close,
we
eh?
just get absolutely crushed by, because we go on. It takes me 3 ends to figure out that there's a fall in this spot, and then in this one it'll curl or whatever. And they know that already coming into the game,
Yeah.
so they're luring me into it and doing a good job. It can turn on you pretty quick. So
Yeah, Kyler was here last weekend. They're part of the Excel program, and we're the Excel training center for the South here, so he gets to come out and practice whenever he wants. And they were here on the weekend and practiced for a couple hours, then played a little 4-end game against Team Libis here. So
and that's no disrespect. I mean, both Kyler and Chantel are great players, so
yeah, absolutely.
they're also a formidable team in that sense. But there's certainly something to be said for teams, and I was joking about that with the ones in Ontario with the events in Kingston, where there was a mixed doubles event, and then there was immediately a men's and women's event basically right afterwards. And the teams that played in the mixed doubles event, so Jen Jones and Brent Lang, for example, had played in that and then went with their teams. So now they've got notes on the rocks, they've got notes on the sheets, and teams that are coming in that haven't played on that ice are trying to catch up all the
Yeah,
time. It doesn't,
exactly.
like, by the end of the event, everyone should know that anyways, but for the first few games, teams that have been playing on this ice in these conditions might have a bit of an edge.
Line's good. Room still.
Yeah, they're just relentless out here. They've got it figured out. They're throwing nice positive releases.
They're not, certainly not taking the foot off the gas, which
just
is good, because it's easy to do that without meaning
It
to
did.
when you're leading by a lot, and you
Absolutely.
kind of lose focus, and we've not seen that at all. It's been a bit of a clinic here so far for Kyler and Chantel. They played incredible this whole game.
Yeah, and it's not like the other team's playing bad, but they're just maybe
I like
not
that
figuring
already.
out that release and can't
I
get
was
it beat
gonna
on
say,
the
how do you
ice. And
Yeah, I do think that that's the difference from what I've seen. We've only had a few where they've been coming right at me, where I can really see the release, but it looks like it's just a bit of a release for straighter ice than this, and so they're just getting caught early, where right out of the hand they're sweeping it for line. And like I said, if you're sweeping it early on ice that has late finish, you're dead. There's no way to bring it back. There's no way to save it. So I just think it's and this ice, from what I've seen so far today, has more curl than most curling clubs would ever have. So it's a bit different for people that are used to kind of their home club with a foot or 2 feet of curl, where now we're seeing 3 and 4 and 5 and
Yeah.
plus, right? And that is definitely a
it's
different,
great.
like
It's
all
good.
of your top teams will have several different releases. One for super swingy ice, one for normal swingy ice, and one for straight ice, which when I say straight ice, I mean anything less than 4 feet of curl to us is straight ice.
Exactly.
And you need to have different releases to deal with those different things. And I think that for people coming from curling
I felt
clubs
pretty heavy.
exclusively, where
That is
typically
clear.
you would have somewhere between
They could do it
2 and 3 feet of curl maybe, they're only used to that softer release. And so then all of a sudden you get on swingy ice and they're losing everything early, and you kind of go, holy smokes, like what do we do? And it really isn't something you can just do on the fly. Like it takes some practice to get that positive release, that bit of a set pop
I like it.
back
I just
to the
don't want to roll
broom
towards center.
kind of a
Absolutely.
release figured out. And for Kyler and Chantel having the advantage here because they've played on a lot of ice that curls a lot. And I think you'll
Yeah,
see that
same
with a
weight,
few.
everything
I
is
would
kind of
suggest that my buddies over here on 4, Morgan and Brad, both have fairly positive releases as well, because they've also
I think a good
had that
example
experience
yes.
of playing on some
Edge
ice
of
that
eight
curls
should be-
more.
Yeah, you should be
They've
fine.
also both had me
little
hold the
IR
broom
center.
for them.
And
So
tell them, yeah.
probably a little bit my fault being like, that looked a little soft to me, which it's probably great on most ice, but I'm like, it's going to curl 8 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Weight's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah,
center.
we've
Close
got the
heavy.
boys coming out next week. Benny and Team Cooey's
Room
coming
early.
out practice
Line's
on
close.
Wednesday. and
Line's close.
Benny's like, oh, so we have some
Line's
curl
real
out there?
close,
I
Meg.
said, don't worry, we'll have curl, Benny.
Weight's
It'll be all
fine.
right.
To it.
Yeah. You're always
Well,
high.
and Ben and myself, and actually Kyler as well, we're all spoiled because we play at the Glencoe, practice at the Glencoe, which has ice like this with a ton of curl. It's essentially like playing at an arena most of the time. So we get a bit spoiled in that we go to a curling club and it's the same conditions that we see at slams on arena ice with the amount of curl. So I from what I've seen, I think that they'll be very pleased with this. But
think so.
I think it's like I say, it's
like
just
this?
a lot of curling clubs that you go to have a lot less curl than this. So
Yeah.
he's thinking of it more in that. And it's just basically not something that the top teams generally do much, is play on curling club ice. So then they're going, oh my God, how straight is it going to be? Like, are we going to have to try to hook these rocks to get them to curl? That certainly won't be the case here. Nice shot.
Jeez.
Just a buzzsaw over here from Kyler Kleibrink. I don't think he's
this
missed a
is
shot.
Right through the
Kind of
hole.
early.
Didn't even touch his
In fact, it's not
yellows.
even lined up that great.
And he's playing fast too. Just getting in the hack and firing it.
I'm not even sure the broom was down when when he kicked out on that one.
Edge, inch buried.
Yeah.
I like to keep the weight real down.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the
Go on
curl.
board.
I'm thinking board.
Yeah.
Middle weight probably a little tight.
Pretty close. I'd feel more comfortable edge, but that's
Edge weight with board.
yeah, or just inside of edge.
Yeah. Okay. Let's split the difference.
Okay.
Well, I think they're just trying to maybe figure out the releases here in this end, playing the rocks back just to get some comfortable going into the next round tomorrow. And doesn't hurt to play one more end just to make sure you're ready to go tomorrow morning.
Well, and to your point, they've struggled a bit to get the results that they're looking for. They're not necessarily bad throws, but they've not been working out. So what do you need to do? Do you take more ice? Do you throw it different? Do you switch your release? So I think smart to go to school a little bit here and figure out what the adjustment you're going to make is, whether it's the broom or the throw or whatever. I heard Megan say there, like, I'd be more comfortable with edge of 8, which I think is smart. They've overcurled almost everything. So at some point, whether you think you're throwing it good or not, just take more ice. So, you gotta, noticing patterns is maybe the hardest thing to do when you're on the ice. Easy for us here to see the pattern. But once you can figure that out, that even if you have a reason for it, even if you say, well, that was a little soft, or that was this, or that was that, if you overcurled that many in a row, change something, do something different. So even if you don't think you need more ice, take more ice, and maybe you make a few, and then you think, yeah, that was a great idea. And if you finally miss one on the high side, my dad taught me when I was really young, it's easier to correct an overcorrection. So if you're a little light on everything, don't try to add 2 feet, add 6 feet once.
Yeah.
And then you can split the difference. Once you get the range, it's a lot easier to find the middle. So miss something on the high side, and then move your ice around or your throw around from there, kind of thing. So I think smart here for them to spend a bit of time because of the struggles that they've had, where like the weights have been pretty close and the throws don't look that bad, but they're just not getting any results. So what is it that you're going to adjust?
Hair hot.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot with our junior teams here at our academy. We talk about, you know what, you don't have to make the second shot perfect, but I need to see an adjustment.
Exactly. Adjust something, and I would rather see you adjust it too much than adjust it not enough.
It's nothing worse throwing the same thing over again.
Exactly. Seeing the same miss twice. Exactly. That's the most frustrating thing, and it's also the thing you learn the least from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had teammates where, like for me, when I've been throwing the draw to the button for hammer or whatever, I've always just tried to make it, like throw the draw to the button. But I have had teammates, and I've actually learned from this, and I've adopted it a bit, where if I throw one back 4 or T-line on its own where they just sweep it, and it's not and I have one more shot left before I throw my actual draw, I try to throw a top 12.
Yeah.
Because then I know how light I can get away with. Because if it ends up top 12, fine, but it might slide to the top of the forefoot sometimes, because it's another rock in the same path and whatever. So it gives you an idea of what your range is. How light can I throw this compared to the one that I put on the T-line by myself or back forefoot by myself? There's a lot to be said for range and for figuring out, like, this is, I don't want to be that heavy, because we often see people say, they throw it, they're trying to throw a draw to the T-line, and they throw it, and the sweepers don't touch it, and it slides a foot deep, and they say, oh, I was a foot heavy. Well, no, you were 6 feet heavy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you didn't bring your sweepers in at all. And so you have to factor that in. And so what it takes sometimes is giving yourself that range where you're like, if I put that top 8 on my own and all they did was clean it, that's the right weight. I don't need to throw it to the T-line on my own. And I think that that's a learning thing for a lot of younger teams especially, is figuring out the difference that sweeping can make and trusting that it can make that difference,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We talk about it a lot. When I was playing competitive, it was, if we came off the ice tired, if our sweepers were tired, we probably won.
Exactly.
If we come off and we're tired, we probably lost.
Exactly.
So-
Like, I feel bad, but it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to bring the sweepers into play if you want the level of precision. We talk about, like I mentioned it earlier, the difference between men's curling and women's curling. People ask me this all the time. Like, curling seems like a sport where the men could play against the women and it would be the same. The difference mostly is just the physical strength that the men have as far as their sweeping abilities go. And so because of that, the level of precision that they get with rock placement is
That
wild.
much better, yeah.
It's wild. And I talked about doubles and playing with Colin, and like Colin, pound for pound, is one of the best sweepers in the game, but he's also 5'10" on a good day. So he's trying to compete
giving him
against.
a lot.
I'm being generous. He's trying to compete against Brett Gallant, who is also a good sweeper, but is 6'4".
Yeah.
And that just the leverage. It's basic physics. The leverage of that makes a big difference. So, you know, you can, and I mean, Ben's not a big guy either, but he's such a big guy. Like, he's not a tall guy, but he's such a
Thick.
big guy that he's
Good
just
job.
been one of the best technique sweeper there has been in the game for years. But I played with him in an event in the Everest
What are you thinking?
curling challenge a few years back where it was mixed. So female skip, male third, blah, 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 down the line, or vice versa. And Ben was our lead, and we were in practice, and it was in August. So none of us, it was everybody's first time on the ice, basically. And we were in practice, and I threw a couple draws, and he'd clean them the whole way, or he'd sweep them early out of my hand, and then he'd start cleaning sort of, you know, halfway down, and I'd think, oh yeah, it's like when I let it go, I'm thinking it's a halfway guard. And so he sweeps it early, and okay, maybe it gets tight or top 12 or whatever. And the reason that he let off to me was because it was light, but it was actually already on the tee line. And I remember saying that to him, and I mean, it's hard to make Ben's head any bigger than it already is, but I made it, and I was like, dude, like, it's wild. All I have to do is not be heavy.
That's right.
Just miss everything light, and you're just going to put it there. Like I said, I feel for me, sitting in the hack, it's hard to miss. And I've said it forever, and I'll stand by it for the rest of my life. If I had to have somebody throw a draw to save my life, I want a female thrower and male sweepers.
There you go.
Because you're used to having to be more precise as the thrower
Yeah.
in women's curling. And then you give me male sweepers, just don't be heavy.
Yeah, amazing.
We need
We're on
backing.
the backing. We're on the backing. Yep.
Yeah, we used to tell our sweepers if they had to go end to end, if the rock ended up in the
Whoa,
right
you're
spot,
off.
then do it again, because that was the right thing to do.
Well, and you want your sweepers to say that to you, and it's hard because as a thrower, I feel guilty that they had to go end to end, and then I got to go throw it again.
Yeah,
What I want them
exactly.
to say to me is, just give us the same.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I want to give them a little bit more to make it easier on them, you know. But if you're like, sweepers own that now, and it's become a different part of the game where the pride that they take in being able to do that and make that kind of difference, or place a guard perfectly, or do whatever. They're really owning that as their job, and that means that that's what they want.
That's right. Well, looks like our final ends up being 9-2. Great finish, great game for Kleibrink Broderson there. Yeah, we're going to go with 9-2, guys. We're going to say it was shot. They didn't measure it, but we'll say the draw was shot. But no, we want to thank Chelsea for coming out tonight. It's been great having you. Lots of great insight, great discussions there for sure. And we're glad. We're hoping to get you back tomorrow. Come on out for whatever you like.
I'll be back for a couple tomorrow for sure. Thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure, and great to watch some good curling on some great ice, and happy to be here.
See, she's on the team. She said great ice. She only talk positive about the ice on this team. Well, and again, a big thanks to our sponsor, WFG. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early for a draw, so hope everybody gets a chance to tune in. And then after that, we'll head right into the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals tomorrow afternoon. So look forward to lots of great curling tomorrow. And again, thanks, Chelsea. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Go.